Yes, it will be.
Live. Senate Transportation, we're going to the FY26 budget, April 4th. And where does that end? The human services where we were at in the web report, but
Corrections?
well, I think corrections is part of that.
It's 300, everything is 300.
So it goes to B 400, so be labor
Okay.
on page blank.
Labor.
On page what?
The labor,
Page blank, it's B 400,
that would be me, I think.
right after page blank.
That's the
Okay,
35.
your page.
That's better
Do you have page numbers?
Yeah.
How do you have page?
Oh,
Wow,
That printed mine out
fancy.
separately.
oh, you're special.
Well, that means we're at labor.
That's,
Yes.
that's my proposal
We're going to,
before the committee.
is that the first trimester or what?
We're in labor. Okay, we need some
All
things.
right,
Where's the doula?
How many weeks does
Okay.
that last?
in the birthing center.
Source.
Okay,
So that's my section.
okay,
And there is in that section, S-117, which we,
oh, right,
that's with no money.
that
So
was,
we probably ought to leave that open, huh?
okay. And that was a position, something? Is
Yeah,
that different? Is that labor relations board?
They come back.
Yeah, labor
Could be
relations
the-
was different.
Right, the Vermont Labor Relations Board. That was the two, is that 217? Because this is labor.
117.
That's 117.
And that's to add a position?
I think that's the.
I
think
believe
something
so.
about with the board, not the department.
I'll check on that.
That was,
Was that
labor
a
relations
wo-
board was 125?
We'll leave it open until we figure it out.
Mhm.
General
What I do is-
education. Finance administration. They're reducing their budget. So I think we can close that out. Education services. I don't think we had anything there.
Oh, that's a big drop.
Yeah, I think it's a bunch of
Okay.
federal funds, ESSER funds all ending. For the formula grants, special education formula grants, assume we're not gonna deal with that, close that out. Adult education. What's in there,
There's
continuing?
whole issues in adult education,
Why can we never?
and we need to come back. They apparently, had a rather raucous time in, Senate Education yesterday. So I think we should probably ask Senate Education to weigh in on this.
And this is different than the issue we had to try to fix in the BAA, or is
Well,
it
try to
continuing?
fix in the BAA, we, did diplomas. This, we changed the formula last year, and there's two pieces.
Right.
So I get a couple pieces to the formula, and the, AOE has interpreted the formula completely different than what some of the people that were involved in putting the formula together. And there's at least one, adult basic education organization that has a significant deficit that, is out there.
In the House, tried to fix that with this 180,000.
I don't know exactly what they tried to do. I think the best thing to do is sit down with, somebody at education and try to figure it out.
So you're gonna figure it out. Cause you
I
dealt
don't
with
know,
last year.
this is not
I know.
not my section, but
You'll get some points from the person whose section it is, if you take it over.
Well, and, if
I
don't think it's mine.
Yeah, you're all education.
I have adult education too.
I think so.
I think that one's broken out.
no, I think it's all yours.
Well, I think we just broke it out though and gave it to think that's what the pro tem.
Just-
that we're forming a union, we're all going on strike, and we're gonna leave you here.
I'm exempt.
He's part of management. Okay,
There was something too, I thought about, like if, well, depending on what happens with the VAA, I like we might have to
Definitely.
revisit it anyway, so.
I guess the stuff about the diplomas we'd have to put in.
No, that's the diploma.
The
piece.
diploma part, okay.
Yeah,
This is the fun.
but I think the formula, there's a conflict between AOE and,
Okay.
how the formula got changed. And so I think we
Need to hear more.
need to come back to this.
Okay.
But I think
Close out.
the chair of education will have
There was nothing in it for Bob Norris.
Okay. I lost it.
I can
We're
sit down with him.
504.
if need be.
Question,
We skipped all the health stuff, so we
flexible pathways,
started at labor, which is
does
before.
the house,
Oh, 400. Yeah, started before 400. Had to leave those open.
What did they add?
they added 120,000 AEL,
What is
that
that?
adult.
So we left.
That is
these
also-
open,
But-
then the next page.
Oh, because it is a flexible pathway, that's,
In two places.
And
do
then
you need
close
both
out
of those
all
to correct the formula?
Yeah.
They're connected?
And this.
Okay, so they're both left
Yep,
open.
mhm, but not this one.
Okay, so we're at B 505.
Sorry, did we just close out 504?
No, because 504, they're connected, they both have that adult ed
Oh, okay,
issue.
yep,
formula issue.
got you.
So B 505, adjusted education payments,
That's just based on what the actual costs were.
right, I assume we're not, there's nothing we can really do there, so we close that out. Transportation grants,
So, yeah,
yeah,
I think for 505, this gets updated as things get, there's more understanding, so you may wanna just keep it open. And then I think JFO will provide more information on that one.
just because there's some school budgets that haven't been finalized.
That's just.
Okay, I remember that update from JFO. Okay, transportation grants. So there's gonna be changes in there, close that out.
I don't have a reason to hold open merger support grants.
I'm surprised that they're still there.
Well, that's why I bring it up. So those were small school grants. And then when we did Act 46, we renamed them merger support grants. But they're basically small school grants, but they were meant to make it so that the new district would be able to continue to support the small schools. But I think we should revisit them in light of what we're thinking about education transformation. Because if we move to larger districts and or minimum class or school sizes, you're immediately bringing this discussion back.
Yeah,
And this is, almost $2 million of subsidy to schools that we're otherwise talking about. Wouldn't it be great if we were bringing them into a larger structure?
Yeah.
So it's kind of inherently contradictory. And I think it was honestly mostly a political decision to leave them when we did Act 46.
so we don't have those small school grants anymore anyway.
They are now merger
If that's
support
what
grants.
they're called. So that's why they're still here, this would just be ongoing in perpetuity.
There's no end date to it, but that's what I'm saying. I think we should, if not in this committee, then have Ed
Right.
bring it up and take some testimony.
It would be really good if Ed took
We
the
should have-
testimony.
Yeah.
I would say too, I think if you have a small school that is close to other schools, if it was a school like Canaan where you're in the middle of nowhere, I'm not sure we want to treat them the same, but
Yeah, and the thing was, there was a subcategory of schools that had to stay open, otherwise people would have to travel a distance that was, unthinkable.
right, Canaan's,
But there's, in my memory, on the group of small schools that were receiving grants, there were plenty that,
Yeah.
they're now merged, and So do we need to be subsidizing?
Like they merged the district with the small school still.
Right, but it's kind of like, now that they have the deeper pocket of the district, what's the rationale for supporting small schools? Of that sort. So I just think it's a good moment for the Ed Committee to pick up and redo the testimony and the thinking, and maybe make a recommendation to us.
Great,
I can talk to Seth about that.
that'd be awesome. Okay, then categorical aid for
You
English
could also
language.
talk to him about, adult
Adult
education.
We're also
No,
looking for a
that's your
recommendation.
part of the budget.
We need a recommendation from the both.
What is that?
What, EL,
Yeah.
English language.
Okay, all right.
This is a per pupil calculation sent out to the schools based on how many non-English native language speakers they have in the school. Well, it's in addition to the weights. If I remember correctly, there's weights for EL students, and then there's, if you have under a certain amount, you just get a categorical aid, because you can't do, if you have 3, you're not gonna get a full-time teacher for 5 students or something. So we said that some schools will just get a categorical grant based on English language learners. But I assume, would you wanna leave it over you?
No, well, I have, this is
Yes.
neither here nor there. EL as an acronym,
Right, it's a passe.
it's a little passe.
Yeah, we don't use it. What do we use?
Is it worth changing? Oh, multi-language learners.
We are all multi-language
There should be.
We should.
E senor.
But this is sort of your point.
Yeah.
There, Ruth, that this is also something that was constructed under the current construct about doing categorical aid. That was part of the whole weighting study that
Yeah.
built that. I assume if we're gonna restructure things, this would be part of that restructuring.
And it would be great to let the finance committees know sooner rather than later if there's, because they're redesigning the foundation formula and trying to figure out how much resources are going to each district, so.
But that's also, but that wouldn't be for FY '26.
Well, if they were gonna wait in the,
No, I'm not thinking that education committee would get back for the budget, but that I would get them working on next year's
Right.
budget.
but even this, if you do a foundation for it and you include some weighting for that, where does this fit?
Exactly. And it has to be weighted.
Okay. Nutrition, we're putting the house back, put in 18.5 million. Back in to fund universal school meals,
I suggest we'll leave it on for conversation.
okay?
Sorry, what did we do with the EL category?
I assume we just closed it out, but it'll be part of the
Larger discussion.
larger
Okay,
discussion, which
but-
probably really be next fiscal year.
Okay, so for our purposes, closing it out.
Yeah,
Okay.
which is the same really for the merger support grants. Because we're not gonna be able to change it now, because they've made the budget counting on these grants. After school grant program. Did you have anything about that, but that doesn't relate to this?
That's from the cannabis funds.
I wanted to leave this open because I have one question that I have to ask Ed about that. But sure it'll all be the same, just an unanswered question, that'll remind me to get my question answered. Essential early education grants?
Just, what is it?
I don't know, I don't remember. Anybody? Essential
I don't know what they are.
Probably not there.
They didn't change it.
They didn't say anything.
but probably should know what it is.
Oh, we probably should know it. We'll find out. we'll leave it open.
I don't like this emerging trend of knowing what we're doing.
Right.
I do not know what we're doing, okay, so.
It's gonna slow everything.
Oh, yes.
Technical education is for the tech centers. A lot of these titles are from terms, like we don't really, career and tech centers.
Yes, good.
I think it goes that out, but that's also gonna be part of the whole ed restructuring and having funds. for career centers. Retired teachers, you care about those, Senator Watson?
Do we do the B?
A little bit.
511.1?
I thought we closed the tech, unless you.
No, we did, that 511.1 below it.
Oh, the old.
State
one.
board.
They snuck it in there. Board of Education, didn't they?
Yeah.
They want something?
Oh, yes.
So.
They didn't, I don't know.
No. Well, my confusion with this one is, because the governor's plan, I thought, affected the State Board of Education. And so does this reflect the governor's plan, or does this keep them intact?
Well, and they had functions that they said if things changed, they wouldn't need, they wouldn't be appropriate. But if things didn't change, they had a list of,
They wanted an attorney or
Right,
a staff person, which I think they've often wanted.
Who did?
Board of
the
Education,
Board of
which
Education.
the title's at the very end of one page, B11.1.
Bad idea.
I,
But they are
originally
level
wanted it to
funded.
Sue us. And-
what?
State Board wanted to sue us?
Yes, state board over the rule series that we differed on.
All right.
That was back in the days when they insisted they were an independent body who was not under the jurisdiction of the legislature, even though we created them.
Yeah.
And they came in and asked for an attorney to sue us, and we said no. So,
Which, because we were on the summer committee, and I forget what, it was like a school construction committee, or was it,
there was a school construction committee.
where they were moved to a advisory committee versus, and they're putting the power of construction or whatever else into the agency of education.
Oh, you're talking about rulemaking.
Yeah, rulemaking.
Yeah, there is a bill out there to switch rulemaking to the agency and out of the board. I don't know that I would support that, but I. don't
Well, if they
support-
did, my question is, would they still need these monies or all
I
these?
think this money is all for diems, basically. And maybe when they do need help from Ed, I'm not sure what this money would, it's only 70 grand. There's not a staff person.
I'm just asking the question.
Yeah, I think it's just per diem, but maybe they have some space or they get, I don't think they get any of the internal service funds get paid to them.
Are
But
they on the list of requests? How much did they ask for?
they did testify, but I thought they mainly talked about needing a position.
I think she,
They had three pieces, the council, as you were just discussing. They had stipends,
The council.
they need a legal.
Oh, they
counsel.
wanted.
They had 4 different requests that equaled $184,000. And to modernize rules, they had $175,000.
But yeah, they wanted to go through all their rules. But I think it was kind of, some of it was like, well, let's wait and see on what the whole restructuring is.
We need to keep in mind that Senator Campion is there now.
oh, yeah.
Right, we don't want
I
to
heard from him yesterday.
get, okay,
What
that is,
What you were saying, Mitch, about it being basically the same as last year and maybe they won't need it. That's checking out with me. So my question is resolved.
Yeah.
Feeling good.
but I
It's
think
the same as 2025.
we close it out unless we want to entertain one of their requests to add money in. Okay. Retired teachers pension plus funding, this is the agreed amount that we're gonna be paying to make up for lost ground that we had in the pension. Close that out. The retirement system, I think we can close that out. I don't remember there being a change in the system administration, but the House,
This is related to the PEX request where it's updated in multiple locations.
This is, they want to raise their salaries.
oh, so VPIC wants to raise, they want $250,000 extra to disperse amongst their 4 staff, 3 staff in the
And the exempt.
I think
Is that the salary?
Yeah.
That's the
That's
maybe
big
what-
4
salary.
staff and then.
That's what
share
Aaron
the
was
board.
talking
Yeah, that's what Adam
Yeah.
was talking about.
So, but since they get funded from basically internal service fund, they charge the different pensions to fund the VPIC, so. There's 250 appropriation to them, and then you will see that 250 between the 2 or 3 pension charges. So we'll leave it open as we think about that whole VPIC appropriation. And VPIC's gonna come in
Tomorrow, Tuesday.
Tuesday. Tomorrow,
Feels like tomorrow.
only Norris. Okay, retired teachers, healthcare and medical benefits. That is what we want to make sure we fund. So that gives us the total of general education. Let's do higher education and then we can end for the day.
Nice. So the University of Vermont is just a 3% increase
So the,
that the governor went along with.
yeah, for the one time that they're asking for wouldn't be here, so we can close this out.
Yeah.
Later, we'll talk about the one time.
Yeah, I just got a quick question on it.
Okay.
I realize there's a lot of alum here from University of Vermont, whatever else, but, this seems like a lot of money we're giving to an association or an academy or whatever you wanna, UVM, for knowing what they may or may not have in their funding already. I'm just wondering why that minimal 3% would come into play here. How much is that actually needed? I mean, I'm looking
You're
at the
opening
UVM.
up a big box.
I would say,
All right.
Pandora, called
All right.
Pandora's.
I would say it's needed, number one, not just on the educational side, but on the job creation side. So UVM is biggest employer in the state, I believe. And they put together every year a myriad of programs that drive jobs in the communities. So whenever they come in and make their presentation, they foreground their work and job creation. So that's number one. The other thing I would say is that state college system and UVM have basically been getting parity. And so I think they're roughly the same now, pretty close. And, oh, where is that? No,
The state colleges,
where else?
it's the next one.
Yeah,
Next.
it's 602, the title
Oh,
is
yeah.
the bottom of the page.
Yeah, so, they're a bit higher because the state colleges, we underfunded since the late 80s. But I think it would be great if they were in complete parity. And then we've always had VSAC as a third institution that doesn't get dollar for dollar, but that rises proportionately with the others. So I suppose there's lots of ways to look at it. You could say that that UVM is in healthy financial shape, but I would hate to go down the road of underfunding them the way we did the state colleges and producing problems. So I think it's, to me, important that the governor recommended the 3%, because some years he hasn't. And the House went along with that.
And compared to other states, as far as the funding we give towards
Oh,
the
it's,
University of
we're-
Colorado.
We're much lower.
nearer the bottom.
Land grant.
yeah. And even for the state colleges, in order to get up to like the median, we would have to put in 10 or 15 million more a year. So we're not anything to write home about.
And I can't remember what the percentage of the state funding was. I mean, they get a lot of federal funding.
UVM?
Yeah,
Yeah. No, the state funding is minimal in terms of their
overall,
operating
yeah.
budget, but obviously crucial.
Well, such as I said earlier, I realized I was outnumbered here with all the alum and whoever else. I just had to ask the question.
Fair enough.
Okay, let's not put it to a vote.
Okay, so we're gonna close that out. So the allied health for the state college, that's health insurance. BSAC, does anybody know anything about that organization?
Like I said, it's usually rising proportionately to the others. So,
And there's some significant one-times here.
But yeah, so that, we'll see that in a moment.
So did we close 602?
Yes, we'll see that one.
I think, from my vantage point, there's some significant one-times in there. There's the proposal to take at what in a certain income level and do exactly what we've been doing for CCV. CCV, I think we pay full tuition for families up, I think it's 75,000.
is it the Freedom and Unity?
Yep, it's the Freedom and Unity, and there's a proposal to do that, to do something similar at Vermont State University. They have $1.5 million in the one-time list. I think the money is funneled through VSAC to do that, but it goes to Vermont State University. And I just would feel more comfortable if I balanced off it, because I don't have it all in my head what that's doing on the one-time list at the state colleges and that piece. So I only say that I have no problem closing it out, but I don't have it all in my head.
Yeah, and there's a whole list of one-times for UVM and for state colleges that we'll get to.
Yeah, and I that's not a criticism. The other thing I'd say about UVM that you think 25% of that 57 goes directly to the medical school by formula.
Yeah.
So if they get 57, state colleges get 52 in base. You got to remember that that's not just to, that is to the medical school, and the medical school is the biggest drawer of grant money for research of any place. It's a cash cow.
But they are losing money. They're losing the graduate education money, and they're also gonna be losing federal dollars.
And I think we also heard when they came in and testified, we did have that scholarship that went, or it's not a scam, it's a grant that goes to primary care medical students that, and it goes through the health department. And that money funds, them, and as long as they stay in Vermont, it's a forgivable loan program. And it's one of the few things we do to encourage primary care doctors here. And
we have to do.
And there would be a couple of proposals in the health department that when I put that up, that I'm gonna wanna put before the committee. Because we're woefully
Understaffed.
with primary care doctors. We're 80 or 90 primary care doctors down, and roughly, I think it's a third of our doctors are nearing retirement. Just, I don't, but there's a number of different pieces.
Sure.
We'll definitely be talking more about that. On the VSAC flexible pathway stipend, assume we're okay with that.
Yep.
The compact, we're still doing that.
Yeah.
That's like our dues, I assume. Which we do, our students in Vermont can benefit from that compact.
I cut the next.
I don't know how.
What, you wanna cut the next one?
Yeah, by
how we're
50
gonna afford
cents.
By 50 cents.
I know, where's this funding coming from?
Real estate.
We gotta find the money somewhere.
Right.
Maybe we should give them $2.
$2. Ooh.
Double the amount.
Literally giving away the phone.
At least 3%, right?
Yes.
Inflation.
Okay,
Yeah.
Who's part of the budget?
I don't know.
that's UVM.
Oh, is
No,
that?
it's not.
Is that his?
Oh, it is, well, it's under UVM.
Oh.
Yeah, UVM,
Can
Well, that was
discuss-
unfair
but it's
for
in
me to ask
Middlebury.
that question.
The farm is in Middlebury.
Yes.
Waivers.
Beautiful farm.
Waivers. Okay, well, field trip for that dollar. Okay, any comments about the budget?
I want to take a field trip before we vote on it.
Transportation, we took a field trip. The chair said, oh, we're gonna do a field trip, so we're like, great, the field trip was just the front of the state house.
Front steps.
We just walked.
Well, the senator from Windsor has it all over her Facebook page and her social media stuff was full
Of that face trip.
See, that's when you need Vince Aluzzi, because he did a field trip with a helicopter,
Oh,
which is the gold standard.
Dang.
Well,
wow.
Senator White had her picture in that $600,000
Oh, yeah,
non-electric vehicle.
What made it?
What's that vehicle?
What made, that was the field
Out
trip.
front?
Is a prototype, being developed and built in Milton at a cost of $600,000. It's, kind of looks like a Corvette.
I saw
It's a
it.
beautiful
It'll
car.
be the first car made in Vermont since 1923 or something. There's a
Yeah.
car made in Bennington.
Yeah.
So it'll have a, well, hopefully, they think they could sell 5 a year.
Maybe they
Might
could
grow.
have.
We,
Not
sample
Vermont.
cars.
well, they,
Yeah.
Probably no New York. So we can adjourn.